Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Confessions family. We are back with another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message was forwarded to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Good morning, Brother Nashi and your team. Please post for me on African Confessions and please keep me as anonymous. I am a man who is in his 40s. It was in 2008 when I found myself in South Africa. Life was very difficult. It was a time when there was no food in the shops. The only thing that you could find in the shops was your salt and toilet paper. Toilet paper and salt was all that you could find in the shops. Then it came to a point where there was not even salt in the shops. The only things that you could find in the shops were your cleaning detergents. A lot of people in my country, they were suffering. I remember very well that we used to buy everything in a millimeter with a cup so that we will be able to put food on the table. As a man, this was very difficult for me to see my own kids suffer. We lost weight as if we were suffering from a rare disease. Life was truly difficult, and I had to make a plan. That is when somebody that I knew very well invited me to their house. Actually, he told me that he had a job offer and he was in South Africa. This man, he owned a fleet of cars. He had a castle, lived like a king. So he wanted me to come and panel beat his cars because he knew very well that I was one of the best panel beaters in town back home. I was so excited about this whole thing, and I wanted to come to South Africa for the first time, and this was going to be a new chapter. So this guy sent me bus fee, and I found myself on a bus coming to South Africa for the first time. And I was so happy coming to the bright city of Johannesburg. Bright lights, fast cars, beautiful roads. And the most important thing was how amazing I saw everything being there in the shops, the food in the shop. The year was 2008, but now in Zim, food is there. Back in those days, life was really hard. It was at that time when my country was hit by sanctions. So this man, he met me at Park Station and they drove me to his house. I am going to call this man John because I do not want to expose him. So John came, picked me from Park Station, and he was with his wife and kids. I was so happy and excited to be finally meeting this so-called relative of mine. We drove and I kept on wandering. My eyes were everywhere, admiring the beautiful city of Johannesburg. Then we arrived at this place somewhere in Sandton. Wow, breathtaking views. As I walked into the house, a double-storied house, beautiful, I had my small bag with a towel and a few clothes to change. That was it. I was very thin, embarrassingly thin. My trousers hung on my bones. Coming from a drought-stricken, sanction-stricken country, I stood by the door, and as I admired this lavish house, beautifully decorated, the interior was really nice. The house had glass all over, folding doors, sliding doors that you could open, and the air would come with a view by the pool. I admired his life. Was this my relative, the son of the soil? Was this boy coming from my country also? To me, he looked more South African than most South African. How did he end up being here? How had he managed to make so much money in this foreign land? So I walked and I was shown into the guest room. The guest room had its own bathroom, shower, big bed, white Egyptian sheets, white Egyptian jewelry. One thing that I had noticed about this guy, when I was traveling from Zim, I had been told that it was quite easy for someone to rob you in Joburg. But this guy, at the place where he was parked, he was not even scared, because at the time when they picked me up, when we returned back to his car, the doors and the windows, they were not even properly closed. And when I asked him about this risk that he was taking, he said that there is no one who even dares to touch my stuff, and he laughed. When we arrived at his house, I was even amazed at his great wealth. Everything in his house was quite expensive. I felt so much at home. For the first time, I could truly relax. The wife was very nice to me, very kind and very hospitable. She offered me a shower, of course. After driving for about 24 hours in the bus, indeed I had to shower. And I didn't even own a roll-on. I was not even smelling nice. She offered me food, breakfast, because we arrived at around 4. So they picked me from Park Station at around 5. We arrived at their house. This was somewhere around 6. At around 7, she made breakfast. It was bacon, your eggs, toasted bread, fruits and cereals. This was the most expensive breakfast that I had ever had in my life. I didn't even know that people could eat such nice food. Anyway, I ate as if I was a hungry man who was coming from a place without pastures. I ate and I grazed through that table as if I was a cow that was about to starve. You know what they say is that when a cow goes to a field with greener pastures, when it is coming from a drought-stricken area, the way that it eats, that is how I was acting. That is how I was acting as I was busy on that table. I finished off my food. They offered me more food, and I gladly accepted everything. I remember that they looked at me as I ate all the eggs. After that, I ate all the foods. I ate everything. For the first time, I felt full. Then John took me to his workshop. He showed me around, told me that he wanted me to help him. He had a lot of cars that he had been buying. So these cars, they were accident-damaged cars. And he wanted me to panel beat them. Then after that, repaint them. Then he was going to resell them. You know, those pre-loved cars, buy it, fix it, and sell it. That was going to be my job. And as for me, this was like a walk in the park. We worked so hard from day one because I wanted to send money to my children. I wanted to improve their lifestyle. I wanted to send food, of course, because the main problem that we had was food. Okay, I worked that first day. Lunch was provided. You guys, the emphasis is on the food, but that's not where the story is going. When the night came, we went back home. We went back to his beautiful house in Sandton, and I slept in my room. That night, I felt weird things, but because I was tired from the day's work, I could feel that my body was not at rest. I could feel that something was not okay. Throughout the night, I struggled to sleep. When I saw that I was struggling to sleep, I prayed and I prayed, then I slept. But before I knew it, it was morning. We then returned back to work. The following night, I slept again. I felt that my body and my mind was not at peace at all. I felt this heaviness, that same heaviness that I had felt on the first night that I had arrived at this man's house. There was something about this house. There was something that was not right. Then I told myself that maybe I was wrong. So I brushed it off. 3 days later, as I was sleeping, I felt like someone walking into my room and opened the door. I could feel it. You know that feeling when you want to wake up, but you can't because you feel like someone is pressing you down. When I felt that there was someone who was trying to press me down, I then tried to lift my hands up, but I could not. I tried to lift my head up and I could not. I tried to move my head sideways, but still I could not even do that.